So let's talk about a true jazz giant, Wes Montgomery. We're going to get into the incredible story of how his simple desire for a little peace and quiet at home accidentally sparked a revolution that completely changed the sound of the electric guitar. It really all comes down to this one simple question. How could a technique, something literally invented to be quiet in a crowded house, somehow become one of the most powerful and influential sounds in the entire history of jazz? That, right there, is the beautiful paradox of Wes Montgomery. And here's how we're going to break down his journey. We'll start with that unique sound, then get into his tough early days in Indianapolis, the unbelievable moment he got discovered, his big controversial leap into pop stardom, and finally, the incredible legacy he left behind. Okay, so let's start with the sound itself. What made Wes Montgomery so special wasn't just what he played, it was how he played it, with a technique that was all his own. This right here is the heart of his genius. See, instead of using a sharp plastic pick like pretty much everyone else, Wes used the soft, fleshy part of his thumb. And the result? A tone that was so much warmer, rounder, almost like a human voice. Then you combine that with his famous use of octaves, playing the same note in two different registers at the same time, and boom, you get that sound. It's instantly, unmistakably Wes. But here's the thing. That revolutionary sound wasn't cooked up in some fancy music conservatory. Nope, it was forged in the fire of factories and late-night jazz clubs in Indianapolis, or Naptown, as the locals called it. This timeline, man, it really puts his whole story into perspective. He's born in Indy, but get this, he doesn't even seriously pick up the guitar until after he gets married. And even when he lands this huge gig touring with Lionel Hampton's band, he chooses to come back home. Why? It's simple, family. And that single commitment is really the key to everything. For almost 10 years, this was his life, a brutal double life. Starting at 7 a.m., he was a manual laborer, welding, working in factories, doing whatever it took to support his wife and their 7 kids. But when that shift was over, his real work began. He'd play gigs in the jazz clubs on Indiana Avenue until the sun came up, night after night after night. So, the most important part of this whole story is that his legendary thumb technique, it wasn't some artistic choice he made. It was a practical one. He was practicing late at night, trying not to wake up his wife, Serene, and their kids. So he just ditched the noisy pick and used his thumb. It was an act of love that accidentally changed music forever. For years, Wes was this local legend, Indianapolis's best-kept secret. But in 1959, in some smoky after-hours club, all of that was about to change in a big way. Okay, this is it. This is the moment. The legendary saxophonist Cannonball Adderley is in town, and he hears this local welder playing guitar like nobody else on the planet. He doesn't wait, he doesn't send a postcard, he gets on the phone immediately with a big-time record producer in New York, and he basically says, "You need to sign this guy right now." And the producer, or in Keep News, he flew out right away. He just sat there and listened to Wes play all night long. And this quote just captures the magic of it perfectly. They signed the record deal right there in the club as the sun was coming up. Just like that, the double life was over. A star was born. So getting signed was one thing. But what happened next is what took Wes from being a jazz hero to a household name. And, well, it created a massive debate in the music world that's still talked about today. You can really split his recording career into 2 totally different chapters. First, with Riverside Records, he recorded what a lot of people consider pure uncut jazz. He was a musician's musician. But when that label went bankrupt, he moved over to Verve and A&M. And the producer there, Creed Taylor, he had a very different idea. Pair Wes's incredible guitar with these lush string orchestras and big bands covering the pop hits of the day. And you just can't argue with the results. I mean, the success was massive. His first album in this style, Movin' Wes, sold over 100,000 copies. That was a huge number for a jazz artist back then. And it just kept going. He won a Grammy for Going Out of My Head, and his album A Day in the Life was #1 on the jazz charts for 37 straight weeks. Incredible. Now this was, let's say, controversial. For the jazz purists, the whole point of the art form was improvisation and artistic integrity, not chasing commercial hits. So to them, covering pop songs with these sweet string arrangements felt like selling out. But Wes was always a provider first. This new direction gave him financial security for his family and introduced his unbelievable talent to millions of people who probably would have never listened to a traditional jazz record. So he's finally there, at the absolute peak of his fame. Hit records on the charts, a worldwide audience. And then, just like that, tragedy struck. He was just 45 years old. Can you believe that? After all those years of grinding, he finally reached the top of the mountain, only to have it all cut short. He passed away at home in Indianapolis, the city he always came back to. But of course, his legacy, his sound, it endures, and his home city has never forgotten him. Decades later, very recently in fact, this historical marker was put up, bringing his story full circle. It honors both the self-taught kid from Indiana Avenue and the global superstar. It's a permanent tribute to the man who put the Naptown sound on the world map. And that leaves us with one final thought. Wes Montgomery never set out to be a revolutionary. He was a husband and a father, just trying not to wake up his family. And his story really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other genius is out there hiding in plain sight, born not out of some grand ambition, but out of simple, everyday necessity?